Hello, this presentation will introduce you to the topic of counselor wellness. Throughout your counseling education and subsequent counseling career, you will learn many theories, tools, techniques, and guidelines for effective counseling practice. However, the most important instrument you have as a counselor is yourself. You are the vessel through which all that knowledge passes and is shared with your clients. This presentation will discuss the importance of attending to all aspects of your wellness. Professional counselors have an ethical responsibility as outlined in the American Counseling Association 2014 Code of Ethics to ensure their physical, emotional, cognitive, and interpersonal wellness. Section C of the Code of Ethics addresses professional responsibility, and in subsection 2G it states, counselors monitor themselves for signs of impairment from their own physical, mental, or emotional problems, and refrain from offering or providing professional services when impaired. They seek assistance for problems that reach the level of professional impairment, and if necessary, they limit, suspend, or terminate their professional responsibilities until it is determined that they may safely resume their work. Counselors assist colleagues or supervisors in recognizing their own professional impairment and provide consultation and assistance when warranted with colleagues or supervisors showing signs of impairment, and intervene as appropriate to prevent imminent harm to clients. To summarize this ethical mandate, counselors must be self-aware, we must be willing to ask for help when we need it, and we need to support one another while also holding each other accountable. So what do we mean by wellness? Van Aert et al. Describe a multifaceted concept of wellness that includes 4 dimensions: physical, emotional, cognitive, and interpersonal. Let's discuss each of these in turn, beginning with physical wellness. You have learned about the importance of eating a nutritious diet, getting sufficient sleep, and engaging in regular physical exercise since early childhood. As a counselor, your responsibility extends beyond ensuring these aspects of your physical health for your own or your family's sake. Now your responsibility extends to your clients as well. We are more vulnerable to getting sick, reacting impulsively, and making poor decisions when we are fatigued. Counseling involves the co-regulation of our own and our clients' moods during sessions, and we know that nutrition and exercise have a positive impact on our moods. We also know that caffeine, sugar, nicotine, alcohol, and marijuana can have a negative impact on our moods and sleep. So it is critical to monitor and moderate our intake of these substances. Our connection to our physical body goes beyond these elements. Counselors learn to continuously monitor our physiological arousal. Through the incorporation of a variety of mindfulness techniques, we learn to be aware of our breathing, noting when our breath is shallow, which is a barometer of stress, anxiety, boredom, or exhaustion, and incorporating intentional, slow, deep breathing into our practice as a means of maintaining a state of calm. Grounding techniques help us to remain connected to our physical self. Grounding techniques include using any of our senses, smell, sight, hearing, touch, and taste, to ground us to the present moment. It is easy to find yourself drifting or dissociating when in a particularly distressing or boring session. And grounding practices train us to become aware of when this happens and to quickly return ourselves to the present. Socrates' famous words, "Know thyself," are an important dictate for counselors. Emotional wellness encompasses the awareness and acceptance of our emotions and feelings, as well as the ability to appropriately and constructively express them. Before we can help others to experience, understand, and express what they are feeling, we must be able to do that ourselves. There are no bad emotions. Anger gets a bad rap, but anger in itself is not bad. It is the way it is expressed that can be negative. The feeling of anger can be a signal, an internal warning sign that something is off. Learning to attend to that signal and process what it is trying to tell us is the mark of emotional wellness. When we judge emotions as good or bad, in whatever context, we are at risk of suppressing those emotions. We set them aside where they lay dormant, waiting to be triggered by some later event, at which point they will likely be overexpressed. We will overreact to a situation. This is not emotional wellness. So how do we move toward a healthier relationship with our emotions? We listen to Socrates. I cannot overstate the importance for counselors to have undergone their own counseling. We all have things in our past or present which weigh on us or baffle us, and for which we can benefit from a conversation with an objective party in a confidential setting. In counseling, we sort through our feelings and reactions and attempt to gain new perspectives. We learn to accept our emotions and our circumstances. We learn to set boundaries where and when needed. Another wonderful tool for achieving emotional wellness is to maintain a personal journal and to give yourself the quiet time and space to regularly self-reflect and put into words what you are feeling, learning, and processing. Journaling has been shown to relieve stress and heighten immune functioning. Some people use one journal for everything. Others like to focus on particular aspects of their life in a single journal. For instance, you may choose to begin a journal which focuses on your internal journey through the counseling program and how you see yourself changing and growing along with the new knowledge you are absorbing. Cognitive wellness is the capacity for insight, intelligent thought, and creative problem solving. Cognitively healthy people are aware of what they are thinking and understand the relationship between their thoughts and their perceptions, feelings, and body states. We talk in counseling, especially in the cognitive behavioral therapy realm, about self-talk. What we say to ourselves affects how we engage with the world around us. It affects how we feel about ourselves. Cognitively healthy people are able to transform self-defeating thinking patterns and to creatively problem solve to overcome challenges placed before them. Counselors who are able to think realistically and have a flexible thinking style are better able to manage stress and find more satisfaction in their work. Being realistic means that we know we cannot cure or save clients, but rather we simply join them on their journey and do our best to facilitate a positive change for our clients based on their specific presenting issue or phase of life. We need to trust our clients' innate capacity for self-direction and healing. Maintaining cognitive flexibility means that we acknowledge what we know and what we do not know. We accept our limitations and acknowledge when we have made a mistake. As professional counselors, we are continually learning through further education and consultations with peers and experts. We also learn from our clients as we remain open to new perspectives. Curiosity promotes cognitive wellness. Another aspect of counselor wellness is interpersonal, or those relationships that support and sustain us. Professional support comes from supervisors, counseling or specialty associations, and probably most significantly, from our peers. The confidential nature of the relationship between counselor and client means that debriefing, when necessary, needs to occur within the confines of a professional relationship. Not only does this ensure confidentiality remains intact, but within peer relationships is the mutual knowledge and language of our profession. Equally important are the social relationships we have outside of work, with friends, family, and other communities. We need to make sure we set aside enough time for social relationships where we can be ourselves, have fun, get honest feedback, and be real and spontaneous. Social support has been shown to be the strongest predictor of positive mental health. Because the counselor-client relationship is inherently a one-way street, it is recommended that counselors find relationships that are reciprocal in nature in their personal lives. By now you may be thinking, must I be superhuman to be a counselor? After all, I've got some problems of my own. And the answer is no. But you do need to be well enough in each of these aspects. So along with your educational journey, it is important to assess yourself in each of these domains: the physical, emotional, cognitive, and interpersonal, and to determine if any of these domains would benefit from some extra attention or improvement. But don't forget to also give yourself credit for those areas in which you are doing well, and then make a plan for how you will maintain that wellness. Wellness, like many things, is on a spectrum. It would be unrealistic to think that counselors feel well all the time. What we are ethically mandated to do is to recognize when our stress increases and we begin to move toward impairment. In 2018, Fye et al. Studied school counselors and the relationship between perfectionist personality traits and levels of stress experienced. School counselors, as we know, must act in multiple roles beyond just counseling, and this places a great deal of external demand on their resources. Perfectionism is a trait that is both a blessing and a curse. On a positive note, perfectionism fosters high standards and a certain level of motivation that drives individuals into higher education. I imagine this class is full of individuals who have some perfectionist tendencies. On the negative side, perfectionism can also result in excessive self-criticism regarding performance. Fye's study differentiated between adaptive perfectionism and maladaptive perfectionism. Adaptive perfectionism describes someone with high standards and drive, but with realistic expectations about what is possible and with the coping abilities to withstand the challenge and frustrations inherent in their job. Maladaptive perfectionism, on the other hand, describes someone who lacks those coping abilities and is excessively hard on themselves. Not surprisingly, those school counselors with maladaptive perfectionist traits experienced higher levels of stress, which affected their level of personal wellness. Let's distinguish between burnout and compassion fatigue. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion that is caused by prolonged and excessive stress. Burnout can happen to anyone in any career. It happens to students and teachers. It happens to retail workers and construction workers. It happens to both blue-collar and white-collar workers. When we are burned out, we lose interest and focus, dread going to work, and become irritable and cynical. Burnout is a sign that we need a break, a day off, or a vacation, or maybe even a job change. Compassion fatigue, on the other hand, is specific to helping professionals. Charles Figley said that compassion fatigue is a disorder that affects those who do their job well. It is an occupational hazard. The question is not, will I experience compassion fatigue, but rather, how much compassion fatigue am I experiencing at any point in time? This is why a regular routine of self-care is so critical for counselors. After working with clients, being fully present in their suffering, we need to refuel and replenish. The failure to do so will gradually erode our sense of connection to others, our empathy, hope, compassion, and presence, the very qualities we are required to bring into the counseling environment. We risk a growing bitterness and lack of interest in our clients, which leads to feeling guilty and resentful that so much is being required of us. This resentment and impatience can spill over into our personal lives, and we risk alienating the very people that we love the most. So let's recap what we learned in this presentation. Counselor wellness is an ethical responsibility as outlined in the American Counseling Association 2014 Code of Ethics. We discussed 4 domains of counselor wellness: physical, emotional, cognitive, and interpersonal, which weave together to sustain the professional counselor. Counselors use reflective practices to increase levels of self-awareness and continuously monitor themselves for signs of compassion fatigue. And counselors prevent and address rising stress levels through a daily practice of self-care, which benefits self, family, clients, and the greater communities in which we serve. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation on counselor wellness.